Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lysha from Lysha Be Creative, and today is the 8th and final day of my 8 Days of Christmas video series. I hope that you have enjoyed each and every video that I have put together so far this week. I know I had tons of fun putting all of this content together for this week's uploads, and I really do hope that you got some value out of this week's content. So in today's tutorial, for the final day of our 8 Days of Christmas, we are going to be making a Christmas holiday winter snowy scene tumbler. So of course, everything that I use in today's tutorial will be listed and linked down in the description box down below. You can also find discount codes as well as links to all of my social media and my Facebook group, Lysha Be Creative Community. So let's go ahead and jump right in to the final day of our 8 Days of Christmas. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have a 32-ounce tumbler that I purchased from the Steel Magnolia that is already prepped with white spray paint, and I'm now going to mix up 2 glitters, Hedwig from Peachy Olive Glitters and Fairy Dust from Shop Vinyl Gallery. So I'm going to mix that up and dump that into my mixed white bin. So this is just a glitter mix that are of these 2 colors that I had mixed earlier for a different cup, and I just wanted to make sure I had enough glitter to cover this entire tumbler. So now we're going to apply our glitter with Mod Podge. So taking a wide paintbrush, I'm just going to coat my entire tumbler with a thin layer of Mod Podge. So just making sure that I don't have any streaks, any clumps, anything that is going to show up or show through my epoxy or underneath my glitter. So I'm going to just give this a quick go through, making sure I am covering every inch of this tumbler so that I can get great coverage with my first coat of glitter. Now taking my mixture of glitters here and just making sure to take my time to make sure I'm getting full coverage on my entire tumbler. And I am going to only do 1 coat of glitter on this tumbler. I got really good coverage with the first coat, and I don't really care for doing a second coat of glitter if it's not necessary. So seeing as I got full coverage, thankfully, with my first coat of Mod Podge, I'm going to let this dry for 30 minutes, and then it's going to go on the turner for 2 coats of epoxy. So each of those 2 coats of epoxy will be about 25 mLs each, and that is going to give me a nice smooth surface to be able to work with so that we can get into the next design part of our tumbler. Okay, so we are going to add some alcohol ink on top of this glitter. So I have 3 alcohol inks. I have Monsoon, Aquamarine, and Glacier. They're all blues, part of the Reindeer alcohol inks. And so I'm taking my little palette here with each of the 3 colors, and I'm going to take a makeup wedge, and I am going to cover my tumbler with my alcohol ink. So I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom, and I'm starting with the darkest color, which is Monsoon, and making my way down. I'm not going to cover the bottom because I'm creating a snowy scene, and so I want the bottom layer of my tumbler to strictly be the snow look. So I'm going to kind of build upon that sky with all of my blues before I can get down towards the bottom. So I will cover a little portion of kind of right under that curve, so to speak, of this tumbler. So probably about 75% of the cup will have alcohol ink on it, and I'm just interchanging between Monsoon and Aquamarine, and then going in on the bottom with a little bit of Glacier, and just going back and forth with alcohol inks, as you guys have seen me use before. I like to just play around and really take my time with these. I don't like to do too much overworking of the alcohol ink, and I like to just go back and forth using that same makeup wedge to blend in my colors so that it looks like more of a gradient and not, you know, a very harsh line of coloring from each section to section. So now to help me blend, I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol and just douse it a little bit over the tumbler. Now remember, with rubbing alcohol is going to remove your alcohol inks. So definitely be mindful when you are using your alcohol that you're not using a lot, and if you do come into a situation where you're taking away the alcohol ink on your cup, just go back in with that makeup wedge in a different section with your alcohol ink colors, and you'll be able to put that color right back on the tumbler. So I'm going to continue working with this, adding just a little bit of alcohol to just get that blending happening along the gradient lines so that the colors don't look so separated. And then once I'm done, I will let this sit overnight for 24 hours at least. I don't seal my alcohol inks. It's just my personal preference. Should you wish to, I know that a lot of people will seal their alcohol inks with just clear gloss spray paint. I like to leave mine for 24 hours or overnight, and usually that is nice and dry enough for me to add another coat of epoxy. So while I'm waiting for my epoxy to cure, I did go into Cricut Design Space and start putting together the images that I'm going to be using for the entire cup. So the green snowy trees I purchased from an Etsy shop that I will link down in the description, and the rest of these items were actually found in Cricut Design Space images. So the larger white trees, the Believe, and the Santa and reindeer sleigh, and then finally the circle is just a 3-inch circle. So I will link everything down in the description, as well as all of the sizing for each of those, so that you guys can recreate this and be able to find those images easily. Okay, so I had a little bit of a dilemma when I was cutting out my images. I ended up not having any white vinyl, believe it or not, and all I had was this frosted vinyl that I had purchased from Cricut forever ago. So I decided to give that a try, and you're going to see how I'm going to kind of bring this vinyl back to life towards the end. So it didn't really show up very well, or as much as I wanted it to, on the tumbler, and so we're going to fix that. But let's go ahead and apply the rest of these decals so that we can get everything together onto the cup to create this snowy scene. So I've obviously first laid out that circle in the middle of the cup on the back side, and now I'm just going to, with the 4 trees that were just those white trees, I'm just going to line those up all the way around the bottom of the cup. So they will be touching kind of at the corners at the bottom. I only printed or cut 4, so that was more than enough to have them cover the entire bottom edge of my cup. With the white trees now applied, we're going to lay over the top the green snowy trees. So I printed and got these cut out with my Cricut, and they don't fit all the way around, so I do go back in and print and cut another section of these to cover the back side, but this is going to lay directly over those frosted white trees that are along the background. So the idea here was that there was going to be some background trees covered completely in snow, and then the foreground you're going to be able to see those pine trees that have that snowy look to them. So with that piece done, we're now going to get our Believe on the cup, which we're going to put on the flip side, right on the back side of where the moon is on the front of the cup. And then I'm going to show you how we are going to bring this frosted vinyl to life. Okay, so since I didn't have any white vinyl or any white HTV on hand and had only this printed vinyl, I decided to take a acrylic paint pen in white and color in all of the frosted images on the cup. Now, I could have used paint, however, I do not have a very good hand when it comes to using paint and a paintbrush. Even though I would be coloring within a circle or within a shape, I felt much more confident using the acrylic paint pen to color in all of the frosted images. So what I love about this is that at the end of the entire process, I do feel like using the acrylic paint pen, or using paint if that's what you chose to do, gave a very hand-painted look, which really just continues to add to the design of this tumbler. So in hindsight, although I didn't have the product that I needed on hand, I think this was a perfect alternative to definitely fix my boo-boo here and really brought another design element to the entire piece. So I'm going to finish up coloring in all of those trees that are on the background in the lower part of the tumbler and touch up any of the moon that I need to. Then I will finally be applying Santa and his reindeer right across the moon, and then of course we're going to do one final touch of our paint pen to add snow all the way around our cup so that we can round out this snowy scene on my tumbler. With Santa and his reindeer now applied to my cup, I'm going to take my acrylic paint pen, that white acrylic paint pen, which I will link down in the description box down below. It actually comes in a pack of 8 different colors, and I have used every single one and have not been disappointed. The other thing I wanted to mention before we add the snow is that these acrylic paint pens dry extremely quick, and I was able to go from finishing coloring in all of that frosted images and adding the snow elements to the turner within minutes. So that's what I also love about these. It's a quick drying process and I don't have to wait before putting epoxy on it. So now with my paint pen, just dabbing all over to give that falling snow look. And this is really just going to round out our cup. This cup will go back onto the turner for, of course, 2 final coats of epoxy using Amazing Clear Cast Plus, which has that added UV protection, and that's it. So I really hope that you loved today's tutorial, and I hope that you enjoyed each of the videos that I was able to upload this week for my 8 days of Christmas. I loved putting all these together, and I wanted to stop and say thank you to all of you. I could not do this without each and every subscriber and a follower that I have, and I appreciate you all so much. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, and I'll see you again in the new year.